National Grid's new bid for Long Island pipeline, energy shortages and green power delays. Reviving the Staten Island gas pipeline, Trump's impact and environmental concerns. Controversial Rockaways pipeline returns, Trump revives $1 billion natural gas project. New York reopens review of controversial Northeast Supply Enhancement pipeline. National Grid's new bid for Long Island pipeline, energy shortages and green power delays. Imagine a future where Long Island faces severe energy shortages, and the green power revolution is delayed. This is the stark reality that National Grid is addressing with its latest proposal. On Wednesday, National Grid submitted a supplementary document to its long-term gas system plan, advocating for a new gas supply line to the downstate region. This proposal, filed with the State Public Service Commission, emphasizes the urgent need for a project initially known as the Northeast Supply Enhancement Project, or NESE. This project aims to boost the pipeline gas supply to the downstate region by 13%, a move that was previously rejected by New York State due to environmental and community concerns. The critics argued that the pipeline would prolong reliance on carbon-emitting gas, hindering the green energy transition. But here's where it gets controversial. Much has changed since then. National Grid's addendum points out that offshore wind deployment has been significantly delayed, increasing the reliance on existing gas-fired power generation. Local electricity generating plants could benefit from a more abundant and lower-cost gas supply. However, the filing acknowledges that this new pipeline would come at a cost. Downstate customers, including 600,000 on Long Island, would bear the $1.064 billion construction cost, leading to an average 3.5% increase in customer bills, estimated at $7.50 a month. But the benefits are substantial. The pipeline is projected to generate $4 billion in societal benefits between 2028 and 2043. This includes reducing the need for trucked-in gas and minimizing the likelihood of gas system disruptions. More abundant gas supplies could lower New Yorkers' electricity bills by some $6 billion, with upwards of $2.75 billion in electric system savings for Long Island and New York City customers. The proposed pipeline would transport fracked natural gas from Pennsylvania through New Jersey, under Raritan Bay, and connect in New York City. Ross Torini, Chief Operating Officer of National Grid's New York gas business, highlighted the changing landscape. The world has changed. The economy in the U.S. has changed. We've seen a lot of change in federal energy policy. There's a big challenge around climate change and decarbonization that we have to lean into, that we have to address, and all that makes it incredibly challenging. But opponents, such as the activist group Sane Energy Project, accuse National Grid of attempting to revive a fracked gas pipeline that New York has already rejected 3 times. The group's director, Kim Fraksek, challenges the company's claim that more costly gas pipelines are necessary for affordability and reliability, and calls for a comprehensive and honest reconsideration of all planning for a 21st century energy grid. And this is the part most people miss. The Trump administration and the Republican-controlled Congress have been working to undo years of climate policy on the federal level. This includes freezing wind power permits and leases, unwinding federal subsidies for solar and wind power, and providing new incentives for natural gas, oil, nuclear, and even coal-based energy. After the Trump administration froze the fully permitted Empire Wind project in April, Newsday reported in May that Interior Secretary Doug Burgum had come to an understanding with Governor Kathy Hochul to review 2 contested natural gas pipelines into New York that had been iced out under former Governor Andrew M. Cuomo. Developer Williams Companies has since resubmitted both the Constitution Pipeline and NESE projects for approval by the State Department of Environmental Conservation. National Grid's filing underscores the need for NESE, citing numerous reports that gas supply infrastructure constraints pose an urgent threat to the reliability of the energy system in downstate New York. Inadequate upstream gas supply infrastructure has therefore left New York City and Long Island at an increased risk of a catastrophic gas system outage, National Grid wrote. The company's near-term solution of relying on a network of compressed natural gas trucks hauling critically needed supply on the coldest days to injection points around the system has reached capacity. Up to 240 compressed gas trucks per day can be required to help maintain system reliability on those cold days, a problem highlighted during Winter Storm Elliott in 2022. The storm led National Grid to curtail service to certain customers to keep the system working, and only a warming up on Christmas Day prevented a major disruption to New York City. NESE is the only material proposal deliverable in the short term that National Grid is aware of to address downstate New York's looming energy system resilience crisis, National Grid said. Most Long Island power plants, including the big three owned by National Grid, operate chiefly on natural gas. So, what do you think? Is this the solution to Long Island's energy woes, or is there a better way forward? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Reviving the Staten Island gas pipeline, Trump's impact and environmental concerns. Suddenly revived after being deemed dead in the water, a highly contentious plan to lay a natural gas pipeline beneath the waters off Staten Island's coast has roared back to life, and everyone is talking. But here's where it gets controversial. The New York State government, under Governor Kathy Hochul, is once again evaluating a proposal that was long stalled due to heated public outcry and previous political roadblocks. Originally proposed by Williams, the Oklahoma-based energy company, in 2018, the pipeline would transport natural gas extracted from Pennsylvania through New Jersey and eventually snake along Staten Island's southern and eastern shores, as well as under the lower New York Bay and Raritan Bay. This project, known as the Northeast Supply Enhancement Project, would extend Williams' existing 10,000-mile Transco pipeline, boosting the supply capacity to serve parts of Brooklyn, Queens, and Long Island. The plan appeared completely scrapped when then-Gov. Andrew Cuomo's administration denied a crucial water quality certification and faced vocal public opposition, particularly from environmental activists concerned about stirring up pollutants and disrupting marine life. At that time, the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation, December, pointedly noted that excavation, via-jet trenching, clamshell dredging, and horizontal directional drilling could resuspend buried sediments and threaten sea life such as shellfish. Many local residents also raised alarm about potential effects on whales and other aquatic wildlife, maintaining that the shoreline's health had only recently rebounded. But the political dynamic shifted when President Donald Trump publicly endorsed the project and later discussed it with Governor Hochul, along with other hot-button issues like congestion pricing, during a March face-to-face meeting at the White House. In May, the governor signaled willingness to at least consider the pipeline under strict adherence to environmental regulations, emphasizing that New Yorkers are under increasing financial strain from soaring energy bills. The new Williams application was subsequently filed, launching a fresh review and public comment period. Many observers are keeping a critical eye on the possibility of what the application describes as unavoidable impacts, which would require compensatory measures. Opponents argue that even strict mitigation would not offset the substantial disruption to benthic habitats, home to shellfish beds, and the vulnerability of important wildlife populations. Adding further debate, the Institute for Energy Economics and Financial Analysis published a 2020 report estimating the pipeline's cost at around $1 billion. The study suggested that, under the project's earlier terms, ratepayers in Long Island, Brooklyn, Staten Island, and large swaths of Queens could end up footing $193 million annually for 15 years. And this is the part most people miss. National Grid, the utility company that would connect to the pipeline's enhanced capacity, insists it will help stabilize gas supplies throughout the region. However, critics caution that overemphasizing fossil fuel pipelines could contradict broader renewable energy goals at a time when green initiatives are ramping up in New York and beyond. Right now, state officials want to know what you think. The public comment window, open until 5 p.m. on August 1st, could determine if there are substantive or significant issues that merit an adjudicatory hearing. Want your voice heard? Email your thoughts to dpenergy@december.ny.gov. Is this pipeline a necessary measure to alleviate energy costs for families, or does it threaten the hard-earned ecological recovery of New York's waters? Share your perspective. Supporters and critics alike are invited to weigh in. Will this be an overreach that compromises environmental protections, or is it a sensible step toward keeping energy bills under control? We'd love to hear your take in the comments. While opinions abound, the decision now rests with policymakers who must balance New York's energy needs against safeguarding marine environments. As the application moves forward, it poses a classic test of economic benefit weighed against environmental responsibility. Which side will win? That's up for debate, and you can help shape the outcome. Controversial Rockaways pipeline returns. Trump revives $1 billion natural gas project. Attention! A high-stakes energy showdown is brewing off New York's shore. Imagine 17 miles of steel pipe drilled beneath the ocean floor, carrying fracked gas to power millions of homes, and stirring a fierce debate that could reshape the city's energy future. But here's where it gets controversial. The plan was rejected just 3 years ago for violating water quality rules, and now it's back in play after a presidential push. Just weeks ago, President Donald Trump announced he'd revived the Northeast Supply Enhancement project following talks with Governor Kathy Hochul. The pipeline, proposed by a subsidiary of Oklahoma-based Williams companies, would run under Raritan Bay east of Staten Island and south of the Rockaways before linking into existing gas lines. Williams, which supplies 1/3 of the nation's natural gas, claims the new infrastructure could be online by winter 2027 and deliver enough fuel for 2.3 million homes. Think of the impact: reliable heat and electricity for Brooklyn, Queens, Staten Island, and Long Island during the coldest months. And this is the part most people miss. New York's Department of Environmental Conservation initially rejected the project in 2020 over water quality concerns. Now the company must satisfy tougher climate rules that demand 70% renewable power by 2030. The application even mentions a mitigation efforts to compensate for damage to benthic resources, everything from shellfish beds to seagrass meadows and tiny worms that make the ocean floor their home. It sounds technical, but these organisms are the foundation of marine ecosystems, filtering water and supporting fish populations. Of course, not everyone is cheering. Environmental advocates NY Deputy Director Catherine Nadeau warns that every new pipeline deepens our dependence on fossil fuels, fueling asthma, flooding, and costly climate disasters. She argues New Yorkers deserve a clean energy future, and that new gas lines simply lock us into an outdated model. Is she right to say that investing billions in a pipeline is a step backward when solar and wind technologies are surging? The financial picture adds another layer of debate. A 2020 report by the Institute for Energy Economics and Financial Analysis estimated the project could top $1 billion to build. Under that plan, residents of Long Island, Brooklyn, Queens, and Staten Island would have forked over roughly $193 million each year for 15 years to cover construction costs. Are ratepayers willing to shoulder that burden for decades? Here's the broader context. This proposal resurfaces amid concerns about New York City's strained power grid after a recent heatwave knocked out electricity for more than 100,000 customers. Experts warned that retiring fossil fuel plants without ready clean energy replacements left the system vulnerable. Is this new pipeline the safety net the city needs, or a dangerous distraction from cleaner options? The New York State Department of Environmental Conservation is now accepting public comments on the revised application through August 1st. Whether you're intrigued by the promise of reliable energy or concerned about climate impacts, this issue demands attention. What do you think? Should New York invest in this underwater pipeline, or double down on renewables instead? Share your thoughts below and join the conversation. New York reopens review of controversial Northeast Supply Enhancement pipeline. In a dramatic twist, a once-abandoned natural gas pipeline project is being reconsidered in New York, sparking a fresh wave of debate. This week, State regulators announced they are reopening the application for the Northeast Supply Enhancement line, a pipeline extension that would stretch from Pennsylvania through New York to New Jersey. This decision marks the beginning of a new chapter for the project, which now enters a public commentary phase. But here's where it gets controversial. The revival of this pipeline, driven by recent executive orders from the White House to increase fossil fuel production, clashes sharply with New York's aggressive climate goals. The project, spearheaded by the Oklahoma-based Williams Company, had been previously shelved due to environmental concerns. These concerns were echoed by Mark Eisman of the Natural Resources Defense Council, who pointed out the stark inconsistency between the pipeline and New York's environmental ambitions. The state had previously denied permits for this project and another contentious one, the Constitution Pipeline, citing potential harm to the environment. Despite this, the White House has lauded the move, suggesting that the pipeline could lead to lower energy costs for New Yorkers. This development comes amid discussions between President Donald Trump and Governor Kathy Hochul, which also influenced a $5 billion wind farm project off Long Island. Governor Hochul has hinted at a nuanced stance, recognizing the potential benefits of such energy projects during times of high energy prices, yet reaffirming her commitment to environmental standards. The dialogue between Trump and Hochul has raised eyebrows, with critics like Catherine Nadeau of Environmental Advocates New York arguing that such negotiations should not dictate the state's energy strategy. This pipeline, if approved, promises significant economic benefits, including thousands of jobs and substantial savings on home heating costs, as per estimates provided by Williams and Trump. However, the debate is far from over. As New York weighs these economic incentives against environmental and climate commitments, the public and policymakers alike are faced with tough choices. What do you think? Should economic pressures override environmental concerns, or must New York hold firm on its climate commitments? Your thoughts are crucial as this debate unfolds. National Grid's new bid